Hey guys, this is the Great Jedi and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well, and in my how to get the old master skin and other event skins fast video, I have gotten a lot of requests to do another video going over how to get all of the previous event emotes, voice lines, and victory poses that need a specific hero to complete the challenge with. So with that said, I'm going over all of the following challenges to give you tips on how to get them fast. The challenges that you need to complete with General Grievous is I Said It First and Crush and Destroy, and you will need to defeat 2,500 enemies and you will receive Duelist and Hello There. As for Yoda's challenges, Wisdom and Experience and Achieve Serenity, you will need to defeat 2,500 enemies and you will get Trust You Not and Serenity. Then for ObiWan's challenges, for the Republic and Old Enemy, you will also need to defeat 2,500 enemies and you'll get the Maul and Body and Mind. And then for Darth Maul's challenges, Old Rivalry and Free Your Rage and Exact Revenge, you need a grand total of 3,500 kills and you'll get Kenobi, and Vigilant. Obviously this can take a while with all these challenges, so be sure to watch the entire video for all of the tips and tricks to help you get it faster. So with all that said, this is how I would complete the challenges, and this is from my experience, but just remember that everyone has a different playstyle, so some of the star cards that I mentioned may not be the best for you. Now with all of the heroes, it doesn't matter who it is, the fastest way to even complete all these challenges is to go to co-op. Now starting off with General Grievous, pick the Separatist Alliance faction and try and look for maps like Naboo, Camino, and the ships. The reason why I'm picking those maps is because there are a lot more closed areas where there are tons of enemies, which is always good to see. When you see a big group of enemies, you should smile because that is a lot of easy kills. Although, you have no control over what map you may get, so instead of spending a half hour trying to get the map you want, you're better off just going through the rotation for the fastest way. As for the star cards I would choose, I would go with Beating Heart, Deadly Slashes, and Lineup Weaklings. I picked the star card Beating Heart because that adds to your health regen, which can really help you and give you more health after escaping in tough positions. Then I picked Deadly Slashes that will do way more damage with Unrelenting Advance, which will allow you to walk into a group of enemies and basically kill them right away instead of standing there for a second and then moving on. As for the last star card, Lineup Weaklings, it is an absolute game changer since in the last update they made it where you can guide those abilities with the camera. So if you see a big group of enemies, this star card will allow you to instantly kill infantry after you kill your first enemy, which can rack you up like a lot of kills, and I'm talking a lot of kills. As for some hero tips for Grievous, is to always have your abilities ready to go when fighting because he runs out of stamina very fast, so I would rely on your Unrelenting Advance and Claw Rush ability because when you use Thrust Surge, that can leave you very vulnerable to the animation. Then while they're in cooldown mode, I would try and find some loners so you don't lose too much health. As for Yoda, for the Yoda challenges, you should pick the Republic faction and use your small hitbox to your advantage. As for the star cards I would use are Agility, Jedi Mentor, and Feel the Force. I would choose the Agility star card because that will give you an extra dash which can really be the decision of a life or death situation. Also, it's a great way to keep moving and repeatedly use those dashes, so having 3 of them can take a decent sized group of enemies. As for the star cards Jedi Mentor and Feel the Force, they are pretty self-explanatory and speak for themselves because staying alive longer and having extra health in tough situations are always a must-have. As for some quick tips with Yoda, is to always pick the right moments when there's a lot of enemies because he does have a slower swing speed, so that may result in you staying areas longer than what you wanted, so be sure to constantly use dashes like going into and getting out of big groups of enemies. Also, I highly recommend using your Presence ability, which is your middle ability, before entering a fight because you never know when you'll need that extra health. As for his left ability, be sure to use that wisely because that will bring up your kill count at a much faster rate if you use it right. And what I mean by using it right is that you shouldn't just use it to get people off you, but rather try and charge up your left ability and kill a huge group of enemies that are shooting at you. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about when I say charge up, that is when you block with Yoda, you will see a little blue bar building up around your left ability, meaning that will affect a much bigger radius and it does more damage. So you'll be able to kill all the infantry in your way when it's fully charged. Now for Obi-Wan Kenobi's challenges, go with the Republic faction and try and find maps like Naboo, Camino, the ships like the Republic Cruiser, really any map that has a lot of hallways or closed off areas with a ton of enemies, because his abilities work great for that. As for the star cards, I would go with Jedi Resilience, Perfect Defense, and most importantly, Forward. The reason why I chose Jedi Resilience is pretty self-explanatory. It gives you better health regen, and with Kenobi, he already has a lot, so with that card, he replenishes almost all of his health, so it is a great must-have star card because it's great when you take more damage than what you thought you would have, and then you're not as low on health. As for Perfect Defense, it is a great card because there are instances where you just have the entire team on you, and with Kenobi's great stamina, he can just block all day long and try to really deflect those bolts back, because you'll be surprised of how many people that Kenobi can kill just by deflecting the laser bolts back with that star card. As for the star card Forward, it allows your defensive rush ability to do more damage, which is great because with this card, you can instant kill infantry. So if you have a long row of enemies, you can just activate the ability, not take any damage from the front, and just guide it where it hits them. As for some tips, I would not recommend using your mind trick unless you know for a fact you're not going to take a lot of damage when doing it, because you gotta remember you're going against AI and they will do just as much damage without their abilities and they will still shoot at you. They figure, I'm already gonna die, so might as well take out the hero too. So with that said, I would stick to your deflecting, your all-out push, because that instant kills, and your defensive rush ability, because that can kill a ton of enemies in one use. Just remember that the mind trick does have quite a bit of animation, so just be careful when using that. I also do recommend not always pushing the objective when going into big groups of enemies without your abilities. As for the last villain, Darth Maul, I would personally stick with the Empire faction. I know some people would say to do the Separatist faction, but with my experience, I would say stick with the Empire faction because it has a lot more crowd control maps. For example, try and get maps like Jabba's Palace, Kessel, Mos Eisley. Really, any of those maps will work for what you're doing because you're looking for the most amount of enemies grouped up at once and how frequent they do it. And when you're the Empire on those maps, they group up a whole lot, which will result in fast kills. With that said, the star cards I would recommend for Darth Maul would be Flow Motion, Range Throw, and Accelerated Throw. I said Flow Motion because using Darth Maul's speed combined with his dash ability, it is very hard to hit him, and he can get a decent amount of damage when getting in and outs of crowds. It is really helpful to have 3 dashes when you are in a tough spot. Trust me, it will happen. As for Accelerated Throw and Range Throw, they are great star cards for your left ability, which will allow you to do more damage and throw your saber farther, which really helps you get kills, especially if they're in big groups. Let's say you have a big group of enemies right in front of you. Just throw your saber and dash back that way, and it hits them in the front and on the way back, and you'll find that you wiped out a lot of people. I also say that those cards, because it gives you more of a ranged attack when you need it, instead of you using your middle ability and being left vulnerable. With all that said, I would just keep on moving, use Maul's speed to your advantage, use your dashes and saber throw, and you should be good. As for your middle ability, just be careful when you use it because you will die very fast if you use it in front of a lot of enemies, because the animation does last a couple of seconds, which can destroy your health very, very fast. Anyways, I hope this video did help you guys out. If it did, please consider subscribing and smashing that like button. If you guys have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments down below. Also, if you are interested in getting the previous event skins, I already have made a video on that, so be sure to check it out if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys later, and may the Force be with you always.
No.